The FIA has once again switched the game. Fresh technical guidelines released at Imola, and immediately, McLaren's impetus with the MCL39 appears to be coming apart at the back. Was it simply bad fortune on a difficult circuit? Or have the FIA discovered something they did not approve of in McLaren's configuration? More to the point, will these fresh regulations continue to weigh on McLaren's pace in Barcelona and later? At the 2025 Imola Grand Prix, two new FIA technical directives went about redesigning the competitive situation in Formula One in stealth mode. And even though they appeared to be routine on paper, their impact on the McLaren MCL39 was instant and evident. After dominating for weeks, McLaren suddenly seemed vulnerable, combating tyre degradation, downforce problems, and erratic performance. Team principal Andrea Stella officially credited the slump to circuit-specific conditions. But in the paddock, rumours abound of an alternative explanation. The new guidance has revealed some sly, perhaps borderline illegal innovations McLaren have been employing from the beginning. Let's begin with what the FIA actually did. The first directive, introduced in two parts, centres around the skid block, also known as the plank, underneath the car. The updated rules clarify how its material is measured and how it should be mounted. These updates were reportedly triggered by a post-race inspection of Oscar Piastri's car after the Miami Grand Prix, something the stewards found clearly raised red flags. The first part of the directive addressed how teams were interpreting the measurement procedure. The FIA saw that it had been found by some teams to manipulate how the depth probe recorded wear on the plank, essentially enabling them to run their cars lower than permitted technically, yet still pass post-race inspections. Part 2 delved even further, explaining the precise materials allowed in the vicinity of the skid area and how they must be fitted. This appears to have specifically aimed at design strategies that enable teams to take ride height to its very limit, maximizing downforce with a minimum of drag. And who bore the brunt? Naturally, cars tuned to be run very low to the ground, such as the MCL39, had to lift their ride height to meet the rules. This is particularly a bad thing at tracks such as Imola and Monaco, where badly cambered roads enhance the potential for excessive plank wear. Lifting the car comes at the cost of downforce as well as aerodynamic efficiency, two niches where McLaren had been excelling. The second directive caused even more ripples. Although it did not add a new rule, it explained the legitimacy of some systems employed to cool tyres. The FIA is now very much keeping an eye on materials and mechanisms intended to regulate tyre temperatures, particularly devices that are suspected of employing phase-changing materials, or PCMs, to maintain the tyres within optimal operating windows. This directive followed rumours persistently fueled by Red Bull that McLaren was pushing the rules with an avowed cooling system that blasted water into tyre valves to facilitate heat dissipation. Pirelli was quick to poo-poo the notion as impossible, but the FIA wasn't convinced. They started investigating how certain teams, including McLaren, could be using PCMs integrated into the wheel assembly to gain the same effect. Although nothing illegal was ever proven, the FIA imposed a blanket prohibition on all designs that bore any resemblance to water-cooled wheel or tyre systems. And wouldn't you know it, at Imola, McLaren's tyre management mysteriously collapsed. Oscar Piastri was forced to pit far earlier than anticipated, and Lando Norris, although driving in clean air for most of the race, couldn't reduce the gap to Max Verstappen. Even when the safety corrupted the field, Norris couldn't put pressure on the Red Bull. Verstappen built a 2-second advantage in one lap. At one point, Piastri even risked dropping to fourth behind Alex Albon in a Williams. Coincidence? The paddock doesn't believe so. Christian Horner, team boss of Red Bull, was one of the first to weigh in after Imola. In his view, not only did Red Bull's upgrade function perfectly in Imola, but the FIA's new guidelines also appeared to hinder their main competitors, McLaren most notably. Definitely, we have gained performance, Horner said. And when you're no longer sliding, you can control tyre temperatures much better. Verstappen was driving very intelligently and still building his lead. He further noted that Red Bull hadn't felt this potent since the Brazilian Grand Prix last season, not even on Friday practice when McLaren had been powerful on long runs. But on the race day, Red Bull finally gained the upper hand once more, and it reflected. Max Verstappen also concurred. He complimented the car's better manners and tyre saving. Helmut Marko also attested that the upgrades had performed as expected. McLaren, meanwhile, are fighting back hard. Team boss Andrea Stella outright denied any impropriety. Indeed, he went further still, asserting that if any team accuses another, they should fund the cost of the inquiry out of next year's budget cap. A forthright assertion. For us, it's really positive news when competitors harp on about non-existent problems rather than their own vulnerabilities, Stella stated. Even if we did have something such as a flexing front wing, such as the majority of teams possess, that's not the reason McLaren are competitive. The more they run after shadows, the better for us. But Stella also knows the pressure is on. As the technical scrutiny intensifies, McLaren must now ensure their car stays compliant while retaining its edge. That's easier said than done. Meanwhile, Ferrari's Fred Vasseur sees a reset coming. In Barcelona, everybody will bring a new front wing by regulation, he said. It could equalize performance across the grid and shift the pecking order again. So what does this mean for McLaren? They are now presented with a twofold challenge. 1. They need to rethink portions of the MCL39 in order to remain within legal limits under the new regulations. 2. They need to steer clear of another Imola-style deterioration at Barcelona, particularly with both drivers hungry for the championship. Currently, Verstappen is just 22 points back of Piastri and 9 behind Norris. A single good weekend can reverse the position. And unlike the 2021 season, McLaren can't rely on team orders. Piastri and Norris are locked in their own title battle. Both want to be world champion, and neither will back down, regardless of what Verstappen is doing ahead of them. That makes race strategy a minefield for McLaren. On the other hand, Verstappen also doesn't have the support that he had earlier. Sergio Perez is not the reliable wingman that he was in 2021. Max is basically doing battle single-handedly against a two-car rival. Can he keep them at bay? He's done so before, but there is something different about this season. What we're witnessing is a dramatic convergence of technical regulation, team dynamics, and raw driver ambition. The FIA's move at Imola might just be the first domino in a larger shift. More technical directives could follow, especially if further innovation strays into grey areas. And regarding McLaren's innovations, the jury remains out. Are they loophole abuse or genius reinterpretations of the rules? Either, it seems, the FIA is determined to keep all teams in very tight parameters, and McLaren, brilliant as it is, will have to accept the same rulebook as the rest. So what do you think? Is McLaren's recent slump evidence that the FIA has finally woken up to something? Or has clever engineering been unfairly singled out here? Let us know your thoughts on the 2025 title battle, and the FIA's tyre cooling and skidwear crackdown, in the comments below. And when you've finished, don't forget to click on the video on your screen right now for more Formula One analysis.